Oversimplified logos. You've no doubt heard this term be used a lot on social media recently. When people refer to oversimplified logos, they're referring to how several logos have been redesigned to be flatter and, well, more simplified. Most of these people would have you think that this is a bad thing, like a really bad thing. And sometimes they're right. Oh, that's a nice logo you got there. But that's because some logos become too simple, losing what made it so distinct and memorable in the first place. However, it is possible to simplify logos well, and I'd argue that most simplified logos are actually pretty good. And in this video, I'll be going over some examples of good simplified logos, as well as some not so good ones. Okay, I know you're probably thinking, of course you're defending simplified logos, your logo is just your channel name in a blue blob, and it's not even original! And to that I say, just shut up. Before we look at some examples of simplified logos, we must understand why companies choose to simplify logos in the first place. The main reason is that it allows logos to be more flexible. This means that they can be used in a variety of areas and contexts, without the logo needing to change. I think the main reason companies want their logos to be flexible is so they can work at smaller sizes or be used for app icons. It makes sense, you know, everyone and their dog has a smartphone, and on a phone there isn't much room for a logo. Having an ultra complex symbol just wouldn't be beneficial in today's digital first world, so that's why excess details like gradients and really any depth at all are typically removed in favour of flat colours and minimalist symbols. So this all sounds bad, right? After all, it just sounds like companies are trying to make everything boring. Well, that's not entirely wrong, but it's also not entirely right either. And that's why I'm going to go through some examples of simplified logos that I think work quite well. So one of the logos that constantly gets brought up as an example of an oversimplified logo is Warner Brothers. I can't be the only one that thinks this logo looks better than the old one, right? I honestly prefer the longer, thinner design of the shield, which actually calls back to the classic design of the shield from 1929. I also think the custom font they introduced alongside it looks pretty good as well. The biggest reason I think this logo is overhated is because this is only a print logo. Print logos are commonly used by movie studios for, well, print material such as movie posters. These logos are always simplified compared to their on-screen counterparts. Speaking of which, why do people always compare the 2019 print logo to the on-screen version of the previous logo? This isn't a fair comparison at all. Besides, when it comes to movie studios, the print logos really don't matter at all. The on-screen animated logos are far more important, and honestly, I kinda prefer the new one. But what really confuses me is how people think the new Warner Brothers logo is better than this one. Like, really? I don't know about anyone else, but this just looks ugly to me. Oh well, at least the gold return, I guess. One simplified logo I think most people are fine with is Burger King. Likely because it's a callback to the classic 70s logo, and because it's clearly better than the previous logo. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I realize the 1999 Burger King logo kinda sucks. Like, for the time, I guess it was fine, you know, it followed the early 2000s trend of adding unnecessary details to logos. Like, why are the buns so shiny, and what the hell is this blue line supposed to represent? This logo honestly feels like they tried to over-design their logo. Thankfully, Burger King came to the senses and made honestly one of my favourite logo redesigns in recent memory. It's based on the 1970 and 1994 logos, but with a couple tweaks. The buns are now different sizes, and the text retains the cartoony look of the 70s logo, but refined just enough to make it still somewhat professional, which fits the new look of their restaurants. But by far the best part about the Burger King rebrand is the new monogram. I've never actually seen this be used, which is a damn shame as it's honestly really clever. Being a combination of the letters B and K, while also looking like a burger. Seriously, whoever came up with this deserves a raise. The final logo I want to mention in this section is Pepsi. I know this logo doesn't technically count as a simplified logo, as the logo it replaced is also quite simple, but I just wanted to talk about it anyway. This logo has been very divisive since it was first revealed, and I can honestly understand why. I do have some problems with it. However, I can't see this as anything other than improvement. I suppose that's not saying much though, considering anything is better than whatever this was. I'm not a huge fan of the font they use, it looks a bit too aggressive in my opinion, but overall I quite like it. Where this rebrand really shines though is with the new advertising and packaging. I mean, just look at it, this shit's cool. Alright, now it's time to complain about stuff. Yeah, not every company gets the whole simplification thing right, with the logos often losing what made the previous logos work so well. The example I feel most people use is Pringles. While I don't hate this logo like most people do, I still think it's a step down from what they had before. I can understand removing all the gradients and shading from the previous logo, but why did they remove the Pringles man's hair? Or was that not hair? Did he just have really big eyebrows? Who knows. I also don't like how there's no outline around the Pringles man anymore. It just looks off. It makes it so where the logo's on a white background, it just looks like there's random floating eyes and a mustache. As much as they ruined the Pringles man though, I do like how the Pringles word mark resembles the older logos. And it's also in the bow tie. That's pretty neat. Certainly better than the short-lived original version used exclusively in the US, where they combined the simplified Pringles man with the old word mark, despite them having very different art styles. Ew. Another commonly cited example is Firefox. This one is definitely the most misunderstood of them all. The reason for this being that many people think this logo replaced the iconic Fox logo they've been using for many years. However, this isn't exactly true. The logo you see here is for the Firefox brand as a whole, which includes more services than just the browser people associate with it. This is the logo used by the Firefox browser, which as you can see is clearly based on their previous logo. Despite that, however, I'm still not a huge fan of it. Like, it doesn't look bad, but something about it just looks off. Maybe it's because the fox's legs appear to have been amputated. And the Firefox brand logo may be misunderstood, but there's a reason people complain about it. It just looks like it could be for anything. What makes this even worse is that Firefox already simplified their logo back in 2017, and in my opinion, it was actually really good. The overall design is the same as the classic logo, but with a lot of excess details removed, a more flame-looking tail for the fox, and an absolutely gorgeous colour palette. Why they couldn't have just stuck with this logo is beyond me. There are several other logos I could talk about, but honestly, I just end up saying the same things. Logo simplification is a hard thing to get right, but as this video shows, it's certainly possible, and happens a lot more than the internet would have you believe. Of course, it doesn't always go well, but really, does it even matter? Does the general public even care about the quality of logos? Do they even notice when they change? Perhaps this is why so many companies get logo simplification wrong, because they know most people won't care. Or they're just lazy.